The last lecture in this module is about VMware Cloud on AWS, or you would also see people referring this as VMC on AWS. So this is called VMC on AWS. We'll see how VMware and AWS has worked together to deliver you a solution for hybrid cloud. Let's talk about that. Now, we have to first understand what is VMware Software Defined Data Center, or what they refer as VMware SDDC. VMware is a well-known name in virtualization space. They have created they have created very interesting projects and products like VMware vSphere, Site Recovery Manager, then vRealize Operation to manage and maintain your data center which is running. That is purely talking in the virtual data center side. So let's see how a typical VMware deployment looks like, and we will then see how AWS can facilitate expanding your typical software defined data center. So we are talking in terms of customer data center. This is a place where you would have your physical servers lined up that would have storage, that would have a CPU, RAM, memory, and network connection. So this is what a typical physical server would look like. Now, a data center would not have only one server, there would be many servers there, and that many servers would require more storage. So there would be spatial hardware which is serving storage services, and there would be spatial network equipment which is allowing all these type of communication to happen. So in a customer data center, these are the common things you will find that is called my hardware. Now, that hardware can directly be used by running an operating system on that hardware and then installing application, but that is not the best use case. So what VMware has a solution which is referred as VMware vSphere, or this is also referred as ESXi hypervisor. It is like an operating system but very customized to run virtual machines on top of it. So what this ESXi hypervisor actually is doing, it is installed on this bare metal hardware, the physical server, and then all the component of this server like CPU, RAM, disk, network interfaces, they become virtual hardware, or VMware vSphere present this physical hardware in a virtual way, and they become virtual CPU, virtual RAM, virtual network interfaces, and they become virtual disk. And once this virtual hardware is there, which is basically a software implementation of physical hardware, what you could do now, you could install a virtual machine on it, and that virtual machine would be accessing these physical resources, but they do not access it directly. Your request for a CPU may go like this and will be fulfilled by vSphere by talking to the physical server. So your virtual machine thinks that they are having the required hardware and software, but actually it is a virtual hardware which is being presented to that virtual machine, and you can run your traditional operating system, Windows, Linux, any other flavors of other operating system which are supported, and any application within those operating system can run on it. Obviously, you will not use one server to run only one virtual machine. There would be many virtual machines running on these type of server, and probably it will be number of servers running number of virtual machine, and then managing them can become little complicated. So what we would do, we would be needing a vCenter server on that. So vCenter is the management piece of the puzzle who would manage this infrastructure. It would add additional capabilities like it would allow you to perform vMotion, which is a way to move your running machine from one host to another host. It would integrate with other solution and allow you to perform backup and other type of thing. So this is on a virtual infrastructure side. Obviously, storage is also integral component of your physical hardware or customer data center. What we would need in that case, we would need a storage also to be virtualized so that it would be easier to manage. If it can be converted into software, then it would become much easier for me to manage. And that's where a product called vSAN is created by VMware. So VMware vSAN, what it is doing, it is virtualizing the storage and allowing you to expand and create things like volume and then disk and then host your applications running from those. Obviously, VMware had to also take care of networking component also. So for networking, they have a product called VMware NSX, which is allowing you to do a virtualization of networking. So three main pieces of any data center is storage, hypervisor storage, server, and network. So they have virtualized all these components in a software format, and this is called their software defined data center, or in short SDDC. So HDDC still is basically running on some physical type of hardware, but I may be having a HP storage here, I may have a Cisco network here, I may have a Dell server here. I don't have to worry about all these things. Once that hardware is ready, I would have my software running on top of it, and I would have all my operations being managed in a software fashion. That is what we mean by a software defined data center. Right. I'm just talking basic things here. That is itself is a huge training can be developed on VMware itself, but I'm just talking about basics here. Now, so if you say that you are a customer who are running VMware environment within your own infrastructure, so this is your customer infrastructure, you are running vSphere, vSAN, NSX managed by vCenter, what you could have built here a private cloud. This is called VMware Cloud Foundation. So this is the basic building block. If you want to build a private cloud, you would have these component, which is virtualizing and deploying all these software component for you. You need a load balancer, you need a firewall solution, you need a VPN solution that will be all provided by your services here. Right, so that is a private cloud. Now, if you have this infrastructure and let's say next day you need 100 more server, you would need that for 15 days, and after 15 days you would not be needing them. That is not that easy to get into a customer infrastructure. You have to place the order, get those server delivered, rack and stack them. It will take time to get ready, and afterward I'm not sure if any vendor would be okay to give you server only for 15 days and then take it back. So that flexibility of expanding, shrinking your operation is not there, and that's where global infrastructure of AWS can be helpful. So what VMware Cloud on AWS is, it is an engineered solution jointly developed, jointly engineered by VMware and AWS working together. And what it allows you to run the same type of software you were running on-prem, vSphere, vSAN, NSX, but on AWS global infrastructure, which is flexible, which is scalable, which is available all across the world. So basically, you use the same tools, processes, and skills you had to manage this environment, but now you are deploying it. The physical components are being provided by AWS Global Infrastructure, so your admin do not need to learn a new skill. Think of it like basically you have extended your existing environment to VMware Cloud on AWS. So whatever my virtual machines were running here, I would be able to run them here, and afterward I would be able to initiate a migration of these machines here. Maybe I run it for a while, process something, bring it back, bring it again to cloud. That all flexibility will be there. These two vCenter can be managed by the same services, same tools, and all of these would remain exactly the same. So VMware provide the hardware to run the software defined data center. Sorry, AWS provide that hardware and VMware provide the software on top of it. You do not have to talk to two vendors separately. You use the service called VMware Cloud on AWS. In that, you would be able to say, I need to create a cluster of 10 hosts or 15 hosts, or I need 2 cluster or 10 cluster, and the service would be able to spin up that configuration for you, and it would be maintained by VMware and AWS. So you do not have to call them separately that, hey, I have a problem with infrastructure or software. You make one call and then your support request will be also taken care. So no need to worry. And you do not have to install an update. So let's say vSAN, there is a new version for vSAN software. I don't have to worry about installing and updating that. It would be taken care by this jointly engineered solution. So this can give you flexibility to expand your footprint into VMware expand your footprint of VMware Cloud on AWS. You leverage global infrastructure of AWS, and it doesn't stop there. what now you have, as you are operating in global infrastructure, you could obviously leverage other services AWS offers, which is like your EC2 or Lambda function or RDS databases, or you want to build a data lake. That communication channel will also open up for you. So you are able to expand. Maybe I'm running virtual machines here, but I want to leverage the load balancer service of AWS, who would be forwarding requests to these virtual machines. So those all integration can be done now. This maybe I have requirement to collect. I have collected a lot of data in vSAN. Now I am running out low on disk space. Maybe let me bring all this data into an S3 bucket, or maybe afterwards shift it to a data lake. So that all possibilities would be there. You are just using both, best of the both worlds. You have the same tooling automation which you are familiar by using VMware on premises, and you are getting all the flexibility which cloud has to offer from AWS perspective. So this is cloud is your public cloud, and if you start using these two in combination, basically what you have achieved is a hybrid cloud. And the best part is that any existing feature in third-party software, let's say you were using a software for backup of your on-prem infrastructure, let's say Veeam you were using here, maybe you were using a specific software for performing operationalization or monitoring of it, they won't need, they won't be requiring any other configurational changes, because the API and the software running underneath is exactly the same. So all your feature and third-party software would keep on functioning as they used to be. So that would make your operational migration and expansion of data center much easier. Be aware that when you have a machine here running in vCenter, that machine is called a virtual machine. That virtual machine, when we migrate to VMware Cloud on AWS, it still remains the native VMware machine. So it is still native virtual machine of VMware. It is not an instance. Obviously, there are tools available that you could bring it as an instance in Amazon EC2 service, but here we are expanding our footprint into AWS and maintaining the same native capabilities of a virtual machine. Like these virtual machine use a disk format which is called VMDK, virtual machine disk. When I move it to cloud, I would still be leveraging the same type of format. I am not converting them into a EBS volume. Right? If you want, yes, you could, but basically it remains the native citizen of VMware environment. You could also explore this detail by using hands-on lab from VMware. I'm using a link here to tell you that these labs exist. Those are called Lightning Lab. Most of them are free. Just create an account and it will help you in understanding like how these services actually work. So they would deploy a temporary environment for you. They will give you a lab guide and you would be able to follow along and understand various aspects associated with it. Those are referred as hands-on lab, and there may be some section in that which is called Lightning Lab. Like here, you could go ahead and go through a walkthrough of VMware Cloud on AWS, Azure VMware Solution, hands-on lab. So these are different VMware Cloud on AWS Lightning Lab. You could go ahead and utilize these solution to get started with. So make sure you check that. This may not be giving you a lengthy access, like it is limited to 30-40 minutes, but it is good enough to see that how all these things actually work. So I hope you have a better understanding of various type of infrastructure we provide. What we discussed so far, we talked about AWS local zones, we discussed about wavelength zone, we discussed outpost, and finally we discussed about VMware Cloud on AWS. So I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you like the training, please provide your feedback on LinkedIn or in Udemy courses or maybe any other places like YouTube. I am running a YouTube channel, so please subscribe to that too so that you can get more informational video like this. Thank you. See you into next section.